Hello, Facebook. Hello, Twitter. Whoever's tuning in right now, thank you so much for joining the Muses. It's the first Sunday of the month, and we're coming to you live from across the U.S. with my beautiful co-host, Kat and Steph. Katie will not be with us today, but as always, she's here in heart. So today, we wanted to talk about the individual human experience. It seems like everywhere we turn, there are messages right now saying that we are separate, that we are unequal, that we can't understand each other, that we have nothing in common, and that we have to decide us or them. We're here to say, well, first of all, that's just damn ass wrong. But also to talk about how important it is to honor everybody's individual human experience. We all come to this planet with a total different landscape that we planned. The skin color, the genes, the genetics, the gender. We plan these things out. And honoring that is a way to see through this veil of separation. So we wanted to talk about, really dive into what is the individual human experience and how can we honor that and really push those negative messages out of the collective consciousness, not just our own. So this has definitely been a topic that's very alive in my field recently. And I want to hear from all the ladies and see if they've had any personal experiences on it. But I'll share one of the reasons that it's very alive in my field. Two reasons, actually. One, I got a wonderfully negative comment on one of my YouTube videos recently because I was speaking to a Black man. And he's a wonderful channel, a very, very deep spiritual person. And the comment said, how is she qualified to speak to him? And not from a spiritual side, from color. And it took me so by surprise that someone could take a spiritual video so out of context. That is really something that I sat on, and I had to really think on, how is that viewpoint there that we can't even speak to each other if we have different skin tones, or if we have different religions or different political views. And then I saw Schitt's Creek, which I love Schitt's Creek. If anybody hasn't watched it, please do. Very funny. And they were reading a letter in like a behind the scenes thing. And it was from mothers of gay students. And they were saying how touched they were by the way the show handled homosexuality because it wasn't an issue. It wasn't something they discussed. And they said nobody can understand what it's like to go through that experience if they haven't been through it. So thank you for honoring it. And it really made me reflect. It's like, that's absolutely true. The only human experience I can honestly say I know is my own. But I can honor the other ones. I can show kindness and love to all. And by doing so, honor myself. So being able to just hear other people's viewpoints is a part of that honoring, being open to the discussion. So that's why this topic has been so alive in my field. Just there's a lot of little things that just keep popping up. And the world's saying, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. We can't discuss things with each other. And I think that is just damn ass wrong.
Well said, sister.
That was my soapbox speech too. Did you guys like it?
I loved it.
So I think, please.
I absolutely loved it. I think I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who hasn't been impacted in some way by that idea at this point in time. Whether it's being refused entry to some place because you're not part of a particular group, or it's somebody trying to personally attack you for whatever their perception may be of you, and or you've made personal choices, that we all should have the right to make whatever those choices are. We're here as a collective, but individuals within the collective, and as you so beautifully put it, none of our experiences are exactly the same. And sorry for the lisp, I can't help it. And every time I say an S, that's all I can hear. And our experiences aren't meant to be the same. We aren't meant to all have the same experiences, be the same, do the same, choose the same, bring the same to this plane. So to think that we are is absurd.
I love that word because it's
Absurd.
very true. Yeah, yeah. You said we're absurd. Yeah.
We are,
Yeah, it's gotten to the level of ridiculous.
which I love ridiculous in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite things. Not so much in that way. That way's a little. That way's a little. I don't know. I guess it's interesting to watch, right? Did I cut you off, Steph?
No,
Okay.
I'm still processing how I'm going to say what I'd like to say. So go
Okay.
ahead.
It's interesting to watch if you can detach yourself from it, right? And see. It's when you can detach from it. It's so easy to see who's coming from a space of fear, from an energy of fear, and who's coming from an energy of love. There really are just those two things. It's that simple. And when you reduce it down to those two choices, the the energy that's driving whatever is occurring, whatever somebody is choosing would be a more accurate way to put it, is like it's so obvious. It's maybe not obvious to the person that's in it at that moment, but it's so obvious to everybody else around them, in my opinion. Um, and it's when the energy that's being chosen, that somebody is choosing to dive into and nurture, is fear. Um, that's a sad choice, honestly.
It seems like a slippery slope, though. Getting into that fear. I think it seems it's. I watch it happen to people, and it's a series of so many little things that some of them you can stand up to and say, you know what, I'm not going to buy into this, but eventually they fall under the sheer weight of the noise that's happening out there that tells them they have to be afraid, that they are alone. And now you can watch people, people that I love and respect very much, really fall under the spell of all of this propaganda, and it's heartbreaking, and I don't know how you shake people out of that. It almost feels like it would take a shock to the system.
You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. You don't shake them out of it because, again, choice and experience, right? When we talked about this element, topic, situation, paradigm, whatever you want to call it, as far as discussing it at length, initially I felt myself show up to the conversation hypothetically in my own head, right? Um, Defensively.
Hmm.
And I could hypothetically have the conversation from a million different angles of, no, I'm not wrong for making my decision. Here's what I want to share. Here's what I want to, and that angle of like, what's the right word? Like wanting to help people shift by truly expressing in my own way authentically and still being so completely frustrated that it's not received.
Yeah.
That someone else is still having an experience that's different than mine, right? And here my ego is going, you've shared everything with them that you could possibly share. You've been open. You're not pushing. You're not, and they still don't see it. And that's when I had to swallow and be like, okay, let me just take a step back here because I'm still not honoring their experience.
Hmm.
Even though they see things differently than me, even though they're having a completely what I would consider blind and brainwashed existence, it smacks of the same energy that's like gently tossed back and forth, ego to soul.
Hmm.
Because how do you see one without the other? And then I'm having this like deeply reflective internal conversation about right and wrong, right? and who sees things the right way, and how do we, and then it's like, wait a minute, there is no right way. They're showing me something completely different just by virtue of the fact that this extreme dissonance exists between our experiences. How could I possibly understand or even be able to embody my own truth and voice without that reflective story taking place of difference, of defining me by what I'm not and what I am, and having a comparison and relative bliss in that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, complete.
And
Yeah.
then it's like, wait a minute, okay, we've got to honor. It's not a matter of defending my position and my experience. It's a matter of honoring everyone's experience, even though my ego in the moment will sit and go, oh my God, you're so fucking stupid. That is ridiculous. How do you even see it that way?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what we're talking about. It doesn't matter what thing, what topic, whether it's a current event or somebody's definition of moral compass. It doesn't matter what it is. If I've got that inner voice, that internal voice still inside of me going, oh crap, how did they not see this? Then I stepped away and out of that space of really, truly honoring a dissonant experience from mine. And there's so much beauty in it. I've honestly found myself in a place of man, it's like, as much as I would not make the decisions that I see a lot of people around me making, some of those people I consider highly intuitive and connected. And so there's a huge amount of dissonance and acceptance in that combination of being able to deeply relate to someone in their level of consciousness and awareness and connectedness to all that is, and then to make a decision about something, whether, insert any topic you choose, to make a decision that my internal voice, my personal experience says contradicts everything else that is aligned between us. It's a weird place to sit. And then to be in a place of deep respect and acknowledgement that you get to have your choice in your experience. I don't have to agree with it. And what is right or wrong?
No such thing.
Nope.
Unless, of course, I do think that there's no such thing as good or bad. I do think sometimes there is such a thing as right or wrong. Not a right or wrong choice necessarily.
Right.
It depends. Like, you could take this back to 18 different layers, but I do think that it is not right to trample somebody else's freedom. I don't think it is. And that's kind of what you're saying. The freedom of choice that is supposed to exist, that does exist, and is supposed to exist on this plane in all the ways, in all the places. It's why this experiment works, right? And I think it's so interesting that you're talking about that, like, everything that you said, I completely agree with. And when you talk about, like, people that you know and respect, like, I think it becomes cloudier almost with people that we know or that we know well. The closer it gets to us, I feel like oftentimes the cloudier it gets, because I think it's very easy to see other people that we don't know. To see, for me anyway, to see what's operating there and what's not operating there. It's one of the things that I get a lot of information on. But the closer you take that to me, the cloudier that can get for me, because I am, I'm tainted by my personal experience, so to speak, or I'm not even tainted. That's horrible. I'm formed. I've been impacted, right, by my personal experience, and so my lens is, when it comes to me, like how I saw particular things occur, is going to impact, my experience, my perceptions, whatever, in my lifetime. And so it becomes, the more we care about a particular person, I feel like, the harder it is sometimes to make that choice, to sit in that space, to let them do their thing, because it does also impact us, if it's somebody that's a big part of our life. One thing that came into my mind when you were talking was the divinity of everybody's experience, really, right? From from the being who chooses to come here as a beetle, to all the other forms of life that are quite a bit larger, not any more important, but quite a bit larger. And I know a lot of people won't agree with that, or maybe some people won't agree with that. I don't know, but I don't believe anybody's life is more important than anybody else's. And without all of them, we don't have this experiment, this experience, the way that it is. So without the people who are on one side of a particular position, there is no other side, and there is no, opportunity for, Chris, you mentioned propaganda and propaganda, misinformation, leading information, fear mongering, all the stuff that's going on, censorship, all of the stuff that's going on right now. It takes something to find the place to stand in that and address what you can address in an appropriate way when it's asked for, right? When you can, when somebody wants to have the conversation. There's no point in having a conversation with somebody who doesn't want to have one, who doesn't want the information, who hasn't asked for any kind of help or assistance or clarity or anything, or just curiosity, whatever it might be. And then there's also, whether they've asked for it or not, the conversation, like, assuming they ask for the conversation, I guess is what I'm saying. If somebody wants to enter into the conversation, not only honoring their choice and because they get it, they're them, they get to choose for them, but also honoring the fact that they are divine, and their journey is divine, and we are headed somewhere because all of this is happening. It doesn't necessarily. This is the dance that happens. What I'm about to say proves what I'm trying to say. I was going to go. It doesn't necessarily make it okay what the people in power are doing, right? It doesn't make it okay. The kind of, how is it not okay? Also, like if that's the dance that gets us to another place, it's I get lost in that.
Because it's not fun to experience. It's not, and you feel it's easy to forget that it's a divine plan and that it's happening for a reason. And especially with like you said, the people that you care about, I think it's because you have so much history with them. It's like seeing so much of the makeup of their recipe that when the final dish comes out, you're a little you're like, well, I saw how messy that was to make. I saw all the broken eggs. So I can't really be in awe of the final dish. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. But
Yeah,
you see,
or like, hey, wait, that's not done. Put it back in.
right. Like you saw too much of how it was made to really look at it like it is as a divine creation. There's so many human experiences that color that and make it a little bit harder to remember sometimes. I would like to say, with all the stuff that's going on, and Steph and I were talking about the La Palma volcano, and if that did create some kind of catastrophic event, it's meant to be. I don't feel any fear over that. I don't, and that's part of my own personal journey. Is all the experiences that I've had have led me to the point where I don't fear death. I don't fear mine. I don't fear particularly the death of other people, because I feel that this is nothing. We get to go home. So that's part of my own individual experience. All of these things happening, all these catalysts, while super, super uncomfortable, are happening for a reason. It's sometimes you get sometimes even I get lost in the noise. It's easy to want to change it, want to fix it, want to help, want to do something. Yeah, that's
So what
very.
is the thing?
I'm like a doer. I got to get out there and fix this shit. There's nothing to be done other than having conversations like this and letting people know it's okay to have conversations. It's okay to have conversations about other people's human experience. Because I guarantee no matter what you think it is from the outside, it's different for the person living it, and hearing it from them and empathizing with it from that level creates a connection and an understanding that we don't get when we just assume people should know. You can look at me and know my human experience. Why aren't you treating me how I want to be treated? That's just not going to work.
Yeah, I mean, who can look at somebody who on this earth, no matter how intuitive you are, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you bring to the table, who on this plane can look at somebody and know all of the important things to know about them, know how they got to where they are, know what's driving them, know any of it. Really. I mean, the stuff that forms a person's experiences, and those things matter, and those things should be honored. They are to be honored. They are, it's the whole. I think Katie made a comment when we were talking about this, messaging about this, right? About to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes.
Yeah.
Who are you to say that if you walked a mile in their shoes, you wouldn't be in the exact same place that they are? Or maybe a place that you would judge as being, worse or whatever. We often don't honor all that's there to honor. And there's so much that's there to honor. We don't honor the experience. We don't honor the dignity. We don't honor the brilliance and the having a brain dead moment when you get back up. The whatever resilience. Thank you, and the tenacity and all of the words that we would assign to those qualities that we all value. It just seems it is a lazy and honorless way to interact with another human being, to make assumptions about anything, and then judgments based on lack of truth.
This comment from Jonathan speaks to that. A plane consumed by expediency. Even like you said, walking a mile in somebody's shoes. What's a mile going to do for you? That's a snapshot. You have a conversation and you know somebody. Even married to somebody, do you understand their experiences? Do you understand why they made the decisions? We really are reactive beings in human form. We see and we react.
And we see, we react, and the expediency thing, that is so true. What is the fastest, easiest way I can fill in the blank, right? Yeah. And what you said about marriage, like 19 years into this relationship, and I'm still learning things that when I when I approach the right way that I go, oh my God. And when I don't approach the right way, totally different result.
But it's, and I keep feeling like this heaviness in my heart. It's the idea of feeling versus thinking, feeling versus understanding. And I don't know if that, I don't know why I keep feeling that way. But seeing somebody and feeling them, you don't have to know about their experiences. You don't have to understand why they did things the way that they did. You feel their heart and you feel their divine essence. And I guess the rest just doesn't really matter.
In other words, like the whole rest of this plane, like the whole rest of the natural plane, right? We humans are the only ones on this plane that are handicapped with words, truly. And it's such a cool invention and such an interesting idea and way to experience the world, because it allows for so much ease in some ways and so much difficulty in other ways. It's just I don't know, it's less of this and more of this. Even, I mean, we've all said this a million times, like even when you're receiving information and you're trying to share it, or you're, not trying to, sharing it with whomever, trying to put it into our human language just dirties the message almost always. It's, I find myself frequently having to choose 5 different words to kind of create a ball of words that will sort of give it the meaning that it
Get in
really
the area. You're trying to like triangulate the meaning.
totally. We don't have them for a lot of what exists on the other side of the plane. Those ideas, we don't have words for those things oftentimes. And so yeah, words handicap, words, that time between experiencing, we all experience this, right? You feel somebody first, and then they open their mouth, and then you go, that doesn't make sense. That's not who I felt. That's not, something's not right there. And we have that dissonance in almost every arena here. Like in everything that we do, there's certainly opportunity for that dissonance to show up. There's the who I am and the what I want, and there's the what I'm willing to say to you, right? And there's or share with you, and so we could fix this real easily. Let's just all revert to nonverbal communication. Revert and grow into.
Oh, I mean, that's an interesting point. And I'd heard, and I can't remember who the channel was, but talking about the choice to come to Earth versus incarnating somewhere else. And they talked about the challenges of the other planets that were available for evolution, and physical challenges, metaphysical challenges, intellectual challenges. And they described Earth as having all of the challenges wrapped together. It was like the crucible of educational opportunities, because you get so much diversity and so many wonderful limitations. We have different languages, we have different genders, we have different skin tones, we have different ethnicities, we have different religions, we have different everything. And now they're saying, okay, remember that you're one. Good luck.
Good luck to ya.
Get it done. Remember that you are all divine beings. That's brilliant on a divine level, on a creator level, to create that perfect space, safe space, to learn those lessons at the most challenging and difficult pace possible, which would be like the human lifespan.
Can I interject one thing?
Yes.
We also have different numbers of legs and fur,
very true. Different
fur,
species,
or bark, or leaves, or whatever. I just want to interject that into the conversation, because there are beings that are choosing to come here on purpose and participate in things that are horrifying, really. I mean, if somebody said to you, you're going to experience that, you'd be horrified. Um, whether it's on the human level or not on the human level.
Absolutely. So being able to step back and see it from that ideal of divine makeup and intentionality and having purpose behind every little thing, whether it's claws, paws, or leaves, it's perfection in creation. Being able to see that, feel that, instead of even needing to find the words for it in order to connect.
It was like Nancy was saying the other day that she was sharing an experience about connecting with a cat that she brought into her home who had kittens, and the cat is what we would identify as feral. And the getting to know each other, I guess, the sort of, how that whole thing is unwinding, and I just think the development of relationships, in all the ways, the development of relationships it's so incredibly interesting, and it's going back to Jonathan's comment, the expediency. We rush everything. We always want to make everything shorter, faster, more condensed. Get on with it. Get on to the next thing. And that doesn't work when you're trying to get to know somebody. It doesn't work when you're sharing something of import, right? When you're having an interaction that matters, I think it could be argued that the most important thing is to slow down. So that you can at least figure out what you're thinking, right? Because this is just like a trap.
A beautiful trap.
Beautiful trap. And a trap. or lots of minefields in there, lots of potential designed that way, in fact, right? And beautifully designed that way, you're right. And take something to master what's going on there, to understand it, be aware of it, and master it.
What do you think, Steph?
Which part?
All of it. Just start going. Whatever rises to the.
I had this thought. I've had a couple of thoughts. Back to what you were saying, Kat, about, man, this is really rolling it backwards here a minute. But you mentioned, in not so many words, the frustration of watching people make choices that they wouldn't make if they had the full data set. And I guess that just summed up what my thought was around it, because Joe and I were talking about it yesterday. We were on a walk, and just talking about how hard it is to watch some of the things that are unfolding on the planet right now, and what do you do, and how do you show up, to make a difference, and how much energy you do put into making a difference, also knowing that information is going to find people who are open to receive it anyway. I don't know. There's just all these elements, right? And, kind of tossing it back and forth. One of the final comments was, well, everybody's got their choice. And of course, that's how we open the show, talking about human experience and choice, and, honoring people's experiences and choices. And I could not swallow that word, not on the heels of the conversation that we had just had about all of the propaganda and all of the lies and all of the deceit and all of that. And it's like, are those the circumstances under which I want to be allowed to make a choice? It doesn't make any sense. And so then what do you do? How do you show up? Do you, I don't know, it's like it's a back and forth teeter totter.
Yeah.
It's a freaking teeter totter merry-go-round.
Mm.
That's what it is. And it's like this in circles, enough to make you puke.
Mm.
Because it's like, honor people's experiences. No, people are being lied to. Okay. Scream louder. Have a different experience. Let them have their experience and learn it anyway. Throw your hands in the air and say it's all divine, which is sort of contradictory in and of itself. You know, it's like, it's all divine. Everything that's happening is just happening as it was meant to happen. I'm here frustrated, and I was clearly meant to be frustrated about it. You know, do you just swallow it and go, okay, this is what we're doing. This is.
I got it.
Go.
You have the answer? Holy shit.
I got it. I really did just hear this. The recognition of the divinity of the experience, I believe, is meant for the macro level. I believe that our interaction is required in the micro level.
Our interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then it comes back to, and yes, I totally agree. I know that's Elise, because she said empathy.
What'd you say?
Empathy. I said empathy, really big.
Yeah.
Which is always required. I find myself having empathy and also being frustrated for people on their behalf. You know what I mean? It's like, I find myself sitting in this space where I'm like, okay, we're going to get all sent out, and I'm just going to love the planet, and I'm going to love everybody on it. And I'm just going to give this whole fucked up mess a big hug. Seriously. That's what I'm telling myself. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to love the hate. I'm going to love it because it's showing me something and teaching me something. I'm going to love the deceit that's happening on the planet. I'm going to wrap it in a warm hug because relative the deceit, I understand truth. I'm going to love the war and the disruption and the chaos because they are as divine as the order and the peace and the bliss. It's like, it's a mind fuck. That's all I got.
It is such a mind fuck. I'm glad you said it.
Yeah.
I was going to say it, and then I was like, should I say that or not?
It is. It's
I like the way you describe it too, because I feel that way all the time. And I think anybody who feels called to do something, to make changes, to stand up for what they believe in, feels that same frustration. Like, at what point am I pushing too hard? Can't save people from themselves, but am I supposed to save nobody because it's their divine mission? Do I only take care of myself and give out metaphysical hugs because I can't touch you? I might ruin your journey. It really is this weird. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's the best part of this divine mindfuck is you don't know if you're supposed to be interfering, if you are interfering, or if you're meeting your soul journey.
I think we can't interfere. I think there is no such thing, just like there's no such thing as coincidence. I think that in the moment, as I sit here and argue with myself about how to show up and when and what to say when I do, I think the divinity in that is moving through me to deliver whatever needs delivered to whoever shows up to listen to me when I do finally decide to open my mouth.
I'm not going to add a syllable to that. I think it was perfectly said.
And I think that is equally as frustrating as all this other shit that we're talking about. Because I find myself, and I feel Chris, I'm feeling the energy of what you're saying. It's almost like, okay, I got so much I want to give and so much I want to do, but in the back of my human mind and my experience, I'm processing and breaking down how much of my motive to do and show up is ego and how much is soul. And
yes.
And then it's like, no, gotta quit all that.
Yes.
Gotta quit all that and cut the strings and get back to that deep inner soul experience. Did somebody say something funny? Who needs to
Yeah.
say
Who wrote that? I can't
That was
see.
Jonathan. He's super right. We're like full on philosophical conversations going on up here. I'm never bored. Never bored.
No doubt.
And I was talking to Elise about this the other day. It's always easier when somebody else brings this to you to feel the truth in these words than it is when I say it to myself. But she was talking about, the stress that's coming with her mission, that fear that she's not working fast enough, that she's going to lose people, that there are people she was already meant to help that she missed. And I 100% understand that feeling. And it totally contradicts everything that we're talking about here, because it's all part of the divine plan. If you were meant to help them, you would have, whether you showed up or not. But you got to keep.
And let's
showing
not
up.
forget that none of this experience is linear, and you still might.
That's why would so many more layers of shenanigans when you say things like that.
Let's just
Like,
stir the pot here.
Let me walk the dog back on that one. That's very true.
And I would also add to that, agree with every single syllable of that. And I would also add to that you can choose to not do whatever you agreed to do. There's choice here. So I really do agree with every single thing you just said. And it is possible through your choice to fill in the blank.
I'm gonna fight back. Whoever put that last comment up there, I'm fighting back. I don't do the stay in lane. I agree with everything else, but I don't stay in my lane. I don't have lanes.
What are you talking about? What's the comment say? I can't see it.
Honor your own guidance.
I loved it.
Yeah, practice
Except the lanes.
divine neutrality.
The lanes. I don't like lanes. Me personally, I can't do lanes.
I don't see.
I'm a lane changer.
Oh no! Now I see it. Practice divine neutrality. Honor your own guidance and stay in our lanes.
I get divine neutrality, and I see that almost like a path. It's that's in itself a choice, and it's something I've always found fascinating when studying Buddha. That ideal of wanting to disconnect emotionally from everything does not resonate with me. That would not be, if I could have my druthers and have my greatest evolution in this human form, it would not be to have neutrality. It would be just the opposite, because that resonates more with what I feel is my path.
But you could argue, I don't really know what the person, I don't know who wrote that or what they meant by that exactly. That could be the way that they're expressing.
Absolutely.
Of saying, do you? And if that is what they're saying, then you are doing you. I don't know exactly what they're saying. I don't really have I'm kind of all over the place. Do I have a lane? I guess I have lots of lanes. I think we all have lots of lanes, or a broad, a broad canvas.
You could rephrase it, enjoy your divine path.
Yeah. Dig into your divine path. Enjoy it. Make it an adventure, the road trip of a lifetime.
Stephanie bringing the boom.
Mic drop.
Yeah, we talked about the mic drop. But all of this and the conversations that are going on in the feed are exactly what we're talking about. Being able to have these conversations, and even if you don't have a lane, you honor the heart of what they're saying, regardless of whether it resonates with you or not. It really doesn't matter. It resonates with that person. So being able to have the conversation allows us as a community in this human form to take a very positive human step on our spiritual pathways. So it's both positive on both sides, human and spirit.
Yeah.
And just being open to discuss it. I know we've said this many times in the past. The four of us have very different backgrounds, very different perspectives on things. And it's one of the reasons that these things are fun to do. Because I have no idea where you guys are going to come from in your comments or whatever. But I love getting to feel them and getting to see your divine wisdom play out in real time. And so anytime people aren't willing to have these discussions or shut themselves down from those experiences, that's a missed opportunity to be able to experience somebody else's divine wisdom. Don't have to agree with it, don't have to like it, just have to allow it. It's always a way of us honoring each other, to be able to speak openly and honestly about how we think and how we feel and what we've experienced. It's a gift for someone to be able to do that with you, to give you that level of trust and openness. And not one that we should take lightly as the receivers.
No, and I think, can I just say, because I think a lot of us have a lot to learn around this, is depending on what it is you're talking about sharing, I think a deep share, an open share is earned.
Absolutely.
Not just lobbed out there, right? It's earned. And when we recognize that, and that doesn't mean we withhold everything from everybody until they earn something from you. But the deep shares, the shares, kind of like the way the rest of the plane functions. And I'm not going to get into all that, but just earn. A share is earned, and and when there is a share, a deep share that's offered, it's easier to honor, I think, when there's a realization that it's been earned, when it in fact has been earned. And if it hasn't been earned, that's interesting. I mean, really, that's interesting. There's a whole lot there to unpack. I think. I'm gonna go off on a tangent.
I like that lane. That's a lane I would ride in.
Staying with your own guidance and honor others to be within theirs. Yeah.
So disclaimer to my comment. Every time I hear that phrase, stay in your lane, it's related to think platforms. It's related to healthcare or education or whatever. And it's like, no, you're not allowed to go outside of your area of expertise. That's
it's also usually.
So I have programming around that phrase that's like, no. But that explanation that was just up on the screen, I really like that.
I like that also. It's just to add voice to what you're expressing. It is a phrase that is almost exclusively used, or at least I'll say frequently, that is frequently used to judge people, to control and diminish. Often. But I felt something different coming behind that.
That's an interesting segue or another conversation. Things that trigger that type of emotional response in you, especially if that's not the intent behind it. And I remember, Steph, when we did that warrior show, like talking about what a warrior essence was, you'd mentioned that as well. You're like, the minute you heard it, you had kind of a, whoa.
I recoiled on myself.
Right? Yeah. But once you unpack that, especially from the point of view of whoever has brought it to the table, it allows that trigger to unravel. But the fact that it's there is still something interesting to go into and to really think on. Like, where do these triggers come from? Part of the human experience as well. We all have such weird is the wrong word, individual triggers that a phrase, something simple, it makes you feel a sort of way.
And you know what? I would like to suggest a different word. I think I've said this once before. But then trigger. I think the word trigger itself
is a trigger for you.
Is becoming charged in some way.
Yeah.
It's so common. Everyone's using it, often as an excuse for bad behavior. And it underscores for me the import of slowing down, taking a breath, and seeing what's going on in here. address this first, always, all of it, and then or address it out loud. That's fine too. But address it. Be aware of it, right? Be aware of it. Like Steph is completely aware of what's, be aware of what's there. So, because I feel like if we all did that, most of the stuff would just disappear.
And this is the comment from Izzy here is very interesting. And trigger could 100% mean something different depending on how it was used. The word, it can trigger something good. A smell triggers an emotion. It triggers that feeling of love. And I just had it the other night. Fireplaces and cold weather. It always just brings me back to being a kid, and that's something about it. It makes me feel so warm and comfortable, and it's like one of my favorite experiences is being out in the cold and smelling a fireplace. I don't know what it is about it, but it triggers something really positive for me.
Do you think so? This is I'm just devil's advocate, whatever. I feel like trigger. It's fast. It's violent. Usually, I mean, an actual trigger is a violent action. I don't mean what's coming out of it. I mean the explosion, like or I'm not just talking about intent or whatever. Like the physics of the thing it's a violent reaction, and I think that word can be used any which way, but it's becoming. I guess what I'm saying is it's becoming really common to use it to describe I'm triggered. And oftentimes when I hear that, it's I don't have any responsibility for what's going on right now. You did it to me. No, seriously. And it's happened way too fast for me. And it's become like a social cultural phenomenon that that people are aware of. And I still think we need one more way to excuse lack of accountability and awareness. I don't know.
Unless that's just someone's experience.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can't not say that. It's so true.
It's just meant that you're just meant to walk through this world blindly.
I mean, I'm being honest, I'm triggered by the word trigger.
But that's 100% true, Steph. I don't know if I've shared this on the show or with others, but in that book, Journey of Souls, it gave a whole bunch of different examples of souls coming down without particular divine missions. They came down to experience. And there's this group of souls, and I always refer to them as the party souls. It was a whole group that liked to come down at times of chaos. They like to hem it up. And they weren't down here to do any good, but they really enjoyed it. So they just...
But you could argue if they're participating in the experiment.
They absolutely are. They're like, all right, they need some chaos to make change on a global level. Let's go do it. Yeah. And that was very much the experiences that they kept coming down to have. Is that wrong? It's not right for me. That doesn't mean it's wrong for them.
Right.
That can't be wrong.
It can't be
wrong though. It can't be wrong.
It can't be wrong. And that unpacks like the conversations about Hitler and Attila the Hun and all of those, and honestly, even Donald Trump, these massive people that and Biden, absolutely, these people that polarize and create chaos and fear on such a global level are there for a purpose. They were born with those mentalities and that mission for a purpose. We might not understand it. I definitely don't understand.
What did you just say? I didn't hear what you just said. Steph.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I know that was the whole thing that I just did because I just got struck with this thing. You said humans, and this is what I may be going way off topic now. But anyway, we are here talking about the human experience, and there are beings on this planet. Did you see on I don't watch MSNBC, but I saw the clip where they announced the presence of reptilians. And started naming people. I'm not lying.
On MSNBC? Really?
Yes.
What did they say?
they named the Clintons and Justin Bieber and some other
What?
people.
Were they making a sarcastic?
No.
I don't get it.
I know. But so anyway, you mentioned yeah.
Well, I've absolutely seen those conversations. The reptilian conversations is actually a really old one.
Yeah.
Not on MSNBC.
Not on
that's
different.
a fairly new topic for that platform, I'm pretty sure.
That would be a giant leap in understanding.
Yeah.
For any news organization to start discussing the presence of external influences.
What the?
I
can't wrap my head around it.
I'll send you another video that I found. It literally, maybe I can post it here in the group. It's a man videoing from his car, and you can see all of these emergency vehicles on the sides of the highway. It's like it's massive. It's like an interstate somewhere or something. I don't know where he was recording from. And you can see these, I'm talking like thousands of lights moving in this massive spread of no particular order. It's just a body of lights moving across.
So, like, are you describing UFOs? Hold on, I have to close my door because my dog.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally describing UFOs. It even says UFOs at the top of the screen, but it's like, what else? There's small all together. I'm going to put it in the group. So, because now I'm talking about it here on the show. So it's like, people have to see this, see the actual footage, feel the footage. We've been talking about feeling things and having experiences. And it's like, what comes through for you while you're watching this? I'm curious.
Yeah, I see this one. They called Jeff Bezos a reptilian.
Oh, yeah, that's the Amazon guy.
Yes, that's different. That's different to see that on a news organization. It's being fact-checked by USA Today.
I mean, I would be surprised to see that anywhere.
Yeah.
But particularly surprised to see it by arguably, one of the organizations that is still the most invested in lying and propaganda and fear mongering, and I mean, just like no sense of reality, it would appear, whatsoever. I always wonder, like, are they really that just evil that they completely know? I think the answer is yes. But that's my personal digression. Sorry.
Are they evil, or are they just having their divine human experience?
Well, all of the above, right?
And that's what brought up the reptilians, because it's like, if we're having experiences alongside others who aren't having human experiences.
I think that's absolutely true. And I had this conversation with somebody about dolphins and several other animal species on the planet being advanced species that they're not here in the same essence as some of the other species are. They're here to help guide and to bring different elements of energy in. The reptilians was supposedly the negative energy being brought in to provide that other side of it. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Especially getting this close in the evolutionary cycle to where we are, whether that's 100 years, 1,000 years, I don't know. But at the end, it takes a lot of support to make those shifts. So I have no doubt. We'll have to talk about that another time, because I would like to see what other groups are reporting on this type of thing.
Yeah. Me too. And I just realized it's afternoon.
Yes, we've gone a little long.
Interesting topic. I love this, Chris. This was Chris's idea.
We'll talk about the alien experience next time we come together.
We should see if we can include Rhonda on that one.
That would be fun.
Rhonda's like the alien caller-inner. Yeah, so I don't feel ready to close this out. I feel like it's all still rolling around.
Any final messages?
Just love, I guess.
Hmm.
I think it's so important that we slow down, that we love each other, or that we find a place of love within ourselves, love ourselves enough that we can interact with others in a loving way, I guess would be a more accurate way to put it for me. And I do think that it's so important to be able to share, to have conversation, not screaming at each other or judging each other, putting each other down, or not listening and just waiting to talk, but actually hearing the other person and honoring whatever their experience is and sharing. I think that does more to further what we're all trying to further than anything else does. And I can't remember what the quote is, or you don't, what is it? Somebody's going to know it. You don't change something. You can't change someone's mind, period. But you can help them to feel and help them to sort of open their heart. And that's really all that's required, right? For all of us, I think, is to be mindfully and in an open and aware way, appropriately open and aware way, feel our way through this experience, express our feelings, share with each other, realize that we are here as one, even though we're having individual experiences, and move forward in a way that is honorable for everybody involved. That's what I would say. So
Beautifully said.
thank you. Thank you for joining us. And we will be once a month, I believe, at this point, first Sunday of each month. I don't know what the next date is, but the first Sunday in December is the next time we'll hopefully see you. I hope you'll join us. And that will be, now that the clocks have changed, is it?
It's the same time. Except for you. It's not the same time for you. It's the same time for the rest of us.
It isn't the same time for me because I live in Arizona and our clocks don't change. So I move from one time zone to the next, which is why I'm confused right now. So if either of you want to jump in and help me out, that would be awesome.
1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Mountain Time for those crooky guys in the middle. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Always a pleasure.
Thank you guys.